Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a principal partner, enterprise architect. And while that is a pretty long title, what I'm here to do is to help guide you on your journey in joining us on AWS On Air. I'm joined today by a good friend and frequent co host, Todd. Say what's going on, Todd.
Yeah, we've seemed to be meeting here quite a bit, Adrian. Welcome
Man.
back to another Friday episode of AWS On Air, a weekly show where we bring you the latest and greatest new announcements here at AWS, brought to you by the people who helped build them. So we got some exciting demos lined up today. But before we get to that, I'm Todd Fortier. I'm a senior solutions architect here at AWS, where I focus on developing solutions for what we call the AWS Solutions Library. If you've never heard of that before, head over to aws.amazon.com/solutions. We've got all kinds of really cool, innovative stuff in there, so check that out. But I'm excited for today's episode. We've got some new security features, something that I, as a former application dev, probably should have spent a little bit more time understanding and working in. What about you, Adrian?
Well, man, some of our viewers may know I grew up in the data center, built solutions, did the migration stuff, and all that good stuff. Yeah, security is always one of the things, we'll kind of get to it. But these days, you can't afford to be lax. There has to be a good, constant reminder and conscious effort of maintaining, building, and enforcing a security posture. And, I got a good sense that the stuff we're going to be talking about today is going to resonate with a lot of customers, a lot of users, partners, and just about points in between. And it's important to note, and would be remiss if we didn't, this is your show. So, chat, we are going to look to you frequently and ask questions about whether this makes sense. If there's anything noodling around in the back of your mind that you'd like to get off your chest, and ask. The experts are here. They are here to answer your questions. Otherwise, it'd just be kind of weird speaking off into the void, not really involving y'all. But it's one of the things that makes our show so important and valuable to you. But just don't take our word for it. We got plenty of different shows to talk about, don't we, Todd?
That's right. You're exactly right. We are live. It's Friday. It's November 15th. We've got our first weather report from Atlanta, Georgia. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I understand that we're featured on the USA today. I want to know where you're from, but I also want to know how you heard about the stream. Did you just sort of happen to land on here? Did you know this was coming? Is this something you tune into regularly? Let us know. We want to talk with you in the chat. But Adrian's right. We have other shows that happen throughout the week. For example, the sports show with our producer, Nick, happens every other Wednesday, I believe. We've got Under the Hood with Art Baudo. We get into EC2 and compute here at AWS. Startups with Jillian, where we dive into the world of startups and what startups are doing on AWS. And new Data Dive show, where we get deep into data, and which is the talk of the town these days. What are customers doing with data? What are better ways to get it into AWS, get value out of that? So a really fun show there. Which one am I forgetting? Game Day with AM, another really fun show where we kind of gamify AWS, and I've heard it like an escape room. You learn how to use AWS by solving challenges. Another really fun show. If you've seen those other shows, let us know which ones do you like. I'm particularly fond of sports. I'm kind of a sports guy. What about you, Adrian? What's your favorite show? Outside, of course, the shows that we host together.
Of course, it would be silly not to throw that at the top of the list. But now I'm a big fan of sports, big fan of Data Dive. More and more customers and partners are pushing me to be a little more studious in this domain, where more they have become comfortable with the understanding that you can't just throw data at magic box and poof, shiny magic comes out. If the data going in is not in the best of shape, not structured, not really identified, or you don't even know what you have in some instances, you're not going to make a lot of sense out of it. And especially now, as AI is become at the forefront of many people's business processes, or even just areas of experimentation, quality over quantity is definitely the way that things are going. But I am actually kind of been a little bit pulled into the startup domain with more and more, given my position in our technology partner COE. I'll be meeting with a ton of them over reInvent whenever it is that gets here. I know it's just right around the corner in a couple of weeks, but looking forward to talking shop with folks when we get out there. But
Yeah.
Enough about that. We can keep prattling on and on, but the folks are here to talk about and learn about security. So what do you think, man? Think it's time to bring our first guest?
We've got a lot more to say about reInvent just around the corner, but yeah, let's get into the show today and bring on our first guest.
Sounds good.
Raymond, welcome to the show. You are live on air, AWS on air. Maybe take a minute to introduce yourself, let our audience know who you are and what do you do at AWS?
Sure thing. Yeah, this is super exciting. It's my first time on the show, so thank you all for inviting me, and I'm super excited to talk about some exciting stuff we've got. But anyways, my name's Ray. I lead the identity and access management product team here at AWS. Joining you, I guess it's afternoon now, joining you on an afternoon from Seattle, where it's a little bit cold and cloudy today, but not too bad. It's starting to get into the wintertime. Yeah, I've been at AWS for 7.5 years. And now I've spent some time in the governance space working on some of our products there, but most recently have turned my focus over to access management and the IAM team.
So it's pretty interesting that you mentioned that governance, access management. We truly have a global audience today. I saw some folks, I believe Mohammed's checking in from UAE. I saw somebody from Mexico City in the chat, Hungary. The people are indeed hungry to learn more. Sorry, can't help myself. It's a problem. Ray, you and I have worked together for quite some time, dating back to the wee days when I was just a young partner SA. Hand in hand with the journey that you've gone in with governments and identity. It really is one of the harder things to get right. It has terrible implications if you get it wrong. And just kind of curious, to help level set with the customers and folks that are watching the stream. How important is this to you to get it right, to try to be as prescriptive but not overly demanding as possible? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'll start with for the folks that may not know what IAM is or want a refresher. Identity and access management is the service that we offer to customers that helps them basically define who has the ability to do things in the stuff that they own. So we typically follow a model where we say, who can access what, and we kind of provide the tools and capabilities to make that journey happen. A big part of what we're doing is related to security and credential access. Managing access to credentials is extremely important because if somebody gains access to your account, that's probably a pretty bad day for you. And so our primary job is to entrust you and give you the tools that you need to ensure that your stuff is secure. Only the people that you want have the ability to access your stuff. And you're able to do the things that you need to do on the platform and grow your business.
That's right. Ray, we're talking about centrally managing root access. Now, root access is one of those things. When I first started working on AWS, however many years ago, I won't say how many, but it was a while ago. It was very tempting for me to just use that root account and log in and do everything I needed to do because I could do everything I needed to do with root. Help us understand the difference between privilege access at the root level. Why do we need a root account? And how's that different than maybe from some of the other accounts you might see in IAM?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to start from the basics, when you sign up for a new AWS account, if you're a new customer, right, the first thing that we do is, hey, we'll need an email address from you. You set a password and, give us some information like a payment instrument and things like that. And so that initial credential that you set up is very powerful, right? It's the first one that you have, and you can basically do whatever you want with it in that account. At the same time, that power comes with some, things that you need to think about from a security perspective, right? What we typically see a lot of customers is, hey, they start with that initial set of credentials, but then we provide them with tools to basically do distributed access to give other people access to their accounts and ensure that that access is scoped down correctly to make sure that the person or the individuals doing things have just the right amount of permissions to do what they need to do, but nothing more and nothing less.
So you mean handing out the root password on a Post-it note or an index card and just shoveling it around the NOC is probably a bad idea.
So,
Those
so
days
Ray,
are long gone.
Ray, why would we need to centrally manage root access? You said I create an account, I get one root account. Why would I need to centrally manage one? It kind of seems like you're implying there's opportunity to have more than one root account. How's that possible?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, like a typical customer journey that we have is, one person or somebody from a startup, like experimenting with AWS or starting to grow their business on AWS. As they grow and the number of employees grow and their business grows, they start ending up with a bunch more AWS accounts because they'll use them to logically separate the stuff that they're building on AWS into these different accounts. And so what we see is, like, as customers grow up, some of these enterprise customers are now managing hundreds or thousands of these accounts. And when we're talking about account management and credential management at that scale, having to think about managing those individual credentials actually becomes like an operational overhead that just grows linearly over time.
Yeah, I get this question a lot. Sorry,
Adrian,
I get this question like, why would I need more than one account here at AWS? And I kind of liken it to, like, it's like bank accounts, right? Like, I might have a savings account, and that's primary. It serves this purpose. I have a checking account. It serves another purpose. I might have some other long-term, high interest yield growth. There's all kinds of different ways to kind of divvy up, but there's a separation of concerns that occurs at that level. And our customers do the same thing. They want to separate workloads by, for logical reasons, or they may be managing or responsible for many other customers, and they want to organize and separate those workloads and have that all roll up from a billing perspective. So there's all kinds of reasons why on AWS you might have multiple accounts, but we're talking about making sure that those accounts are secure and only the right people have access to the right credentials. And we do and you're saying you help do this through a centrally managed root access feature that we're launching today. And I understand you have a demo. Maybe we should get into that demo now.
Would love to see that. And then also, chat, let us know how you're doing it. Believe it or not, I've seen just about everything. I've seen instances where it's just literally just the one root account doing everything, or every subsequent root account having the same credentials tied to the same MFA token. I've seen a little bit all of it. And I kind of have a bit of a selfish interest in seeing what we're going to do here, Raymond, because it sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm super excited to be on the show to chat about this. So I'm glad my screen was able to get shared, and I'll go ahead and kind of jump right in.
Let's do it.
As we talked about earlier, root credentials, they're highly privileged credentials that customers have. And, for our enterprise customers and our small business customers, they think about, they typically historically kept them around, kind of as insurance on a rainy day, right? Like, if something goes wrong with whatever else I've set up, I'm able to use those credentials to gain access to my accounts. However, this did come with some headwinds, right? When you're thinking about managing 5,000 accounts or multi-factor authentication, like that does add up pretty quick. And so one of the things we're excited that we launched today is this ability for customers using an organization to manage a bunch of accounts to centralize the root access controls and give them a couple of features that they didn't have before. So I'd love to run you folks through kind of through this process.
Give us some situational awareness, right? So we're logged into an AWS account. Within that AWS account, we are in the identity and access management service. So we've navigated to that service. We're on that landing page. In the left-hand navigation, we've selected root access management. You see the new feature. When we talk about multi-accounts, where in maybe the organizational structure are we at? For which account are we logged into?
Sure. For this example, I'm a cloud security administrator for my company. I'm currently in the management account of my organization. So this is the one that basically controls a lot of these multi-account capabilities, and it's kind of my central hub for management of accounts that I control in my company.
Yeah, so like in a hierarchical, if we're thinking in terms of the hierarchy of the account structure, we're closer to that top level, that management level, who's then managing all the sub accounts underneath it.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Cool. So in other words, kind of right at the top of the troposphere, we're looking down, we're ready to start raining down or clearing the skies where we need to, for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the super awesome capability that we just launched. You know, as an admin, getting control and managing this root access is going to be fast as lightning. So let me go ahead and show you how that works here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and enable the feature. When I enable the feature, there's basically two parts of it. So we've broken it out into two parts. The first part is giving you the capability to manage those root credentials centrally. And then the second option is being able to take some privileged root actions in member accounts. Similarly, like our other organizations integrated features, we have the ability for you to delegate the management of these actions to another account that you deputize in your organization. I'll go ahead and skip that for now, just for the sake and speed of this demo. But that is something that we do recommend that you do.
Yeah, I can absolutely see a partner jumping all over this, and that was my selfish interest there.
Oops.
Well, proof that we're doing it live, you know?
Yeah, proof that we're doing it live.
Another security feature, session should time out. If you're not
should.
using it, it should go, you should log you out, but we're logged back in. And, you know, I'm getting a sense that this is going to be one of those demos where it's going to be so easy because all I have to do is follow that big orange button. And I love when I can just kind of just follow the orange button and everything's kind of set.
Now we're there. All right.
Yep.
So root access management, again, there's this tab. You can go ahead and see kind of, this is the state of my organization here. With the root user credentials, you very easily are able to kind of read out the state of whether root credentials are around or not. Hopefully as clear as a winter day here. When I go ahead and click on it, you'll see I've got some accounts here that, you know, have a lot of credentials present. And I really want to make sure that my account's secure. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just say good riddance to them, and I'm going to go ahead and delete them. So the way I do that is I basically click on the member account and choose to take a privileged action. I can go ahead and delete my root user credentials. And you can see, you know, I was using these root credentials 14 hours ago to set this demo up. Never used the access keys. And all I have to do is click this button, type in confirm, and then you'll go ahead and see that they've been completely deleted from this account. No more root credentials.
Talk about California dreaming on such a winter day. I mean, clear sky, sunshine, smooth sailing. This kind of like eliminates effectively folks kind of holding on to, well, just in case, or an onboarded member account, or even just a dev account where somebody's hopping in and doing something. It's easier. I don't need to put MFA on it. You as the centralized security admin or SecOps or whomever can see that, probably trap for it, go take immediate action to go pull it out. Is that a pretty accurate statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the real powers of our feature, like enterprise customers and small customers alike. They're going from this managing, hey, I have to rotate this password and also put MFA on it. Mm-hmm. With this feature, a couple of clicks, and now there are no credentials to manage at all.
Yeah, you don't want that root password kind of looming like a cloud over your head as you're operating in a multi-account structure. You want to be able to quickly manage that and remove it. And what I liked about Raymond, what I just saw, to be honest with you, I love when confirmation dialogues only require me to say confirm. Sometimes some of the confirmation dialogues that I've experienced, is particularly at AWS, have really long confirmations. You got to enter in the ID or the instance ID. I just saw that and I wanted to point that out. I love when it's just a confirm and then I can confirm that. It's so much easier. Okay, so we've deleted a root account, root credentials from one of our member accounts. What else can we do with this feature?
Yeah. So the other thing I think that a lot of people are going to ask about is what happens with newly created accounts in my organization. So I'm going to quickly go ahead here and hop over to organizations and then go ahead and create a new account, which is something that our customers do all the time. We'll just call this a test account for OnAir. Go ahead and create this account. And let's refresh my screen.
Okay.
Whoops.
And so, yeah, I just want to make sure folks caught that we are no longer in identity and access management service. We hopped over to the AWS organizations service, which allows us to see all of our sub accounts within a particular organization. And that's why we're seeing something a little bit different. And that was super easy to create an account. So you just created an account.
Super easy to create an account.
Yeah. Back to you, Raymond.
Yeah. And then now I'm going to go ahead and go back to IAM and go back to this feature. And what you will see is that I've just recently created that new account, and it's created without any root credentials by default. So that's one of the new exciting things that we've done as part of this feature is any new account that you create now just doesn't have root credentials at all when the account gets created. So that's going to save a lot of our customers a step at the beginning where, you know, the first thing after they create the new account is to go ahead and manage those because of the security implications. Now they can basically skip all of that root credential management piece because any new account is just fully secure from default.
It's like walking on sunshine. I mean, just the minutes that come back from that, the lack of having to incorporate that stack and then a check in the logic, it's just going to be such a time saver and an absolution of just making sure that this is the standard and you will adhere to the standard because it's being enforced by default. It's pretty slick, I gotta say, Ray.
Yeah,
Ray,
I mean, we're pretty proud of this.
I got a question for you. Is there ever a reason I would want to re-add a root account into a member account? If I've taken it away, can I put it back?
Sure. Yeah. So we have the feature for you to put it back. So you can like select this account where it's not here anymore, and you can choose to allow password recovery. We think there are going to be very few situations where customers are going to want to do that. However, you know, we did want to give customers an option for if they wanted to have those privileged credentials around for any particular reason to be able to go ahead and restore those on those on the account, like re-enable password recovery, and then go ahead and set the password using our account recovery.
So instead of having to go through the account recovery affidavit like some of us might have had to in the past, this is a true break glass from a centralized administration standpoint. Go do the thing, have it time bound if need be, go regain access, and then after they're in, potentially go out and swap that out. Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, that's perfectly accurate.
Awesome. Actually, on that vein, it looks like we got a question from the chat. If we can bring it up from Cattle Homeketh 102. So when my manager wants to see the overall account, say, you know, something read only, can that be created to give an individual access to see the thing, potentially report against it, and then revoke it after the access is done? My gut says yes. Is that something that somebody could do?
Yeah, so one part of this feature is actually the ability to get read-only access into accounts specifically for like the audit and compliance use case. Yes. So customers can now basically get read-only access into the account to read out on the state of the root credentials. And we anticipate customers are going to use that a lot, both for their central compliance and auditing purposes, as well as for any type of requirements that they might have with regulators or outside compliance agencies.
Hey, Ray, we've got just a few minutes to go on the segment. I want to make sure you get to all of your demo here. Is there, I as a developer, I often relied on the CLI. Is there a programmatic way to do this as well?
There is a programmatic way to do this. I don't have that set up for right now, actually. But it is available. Additional cool feature that I do want to show.
Okay, yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've heard from a lot of customers is, you know, there are still some privilege actions that customers need to take using those root level privileges. And so we've actually built in a scoped task-based way of doing that with the new feature that we launched. A common example of that, and I'll go ahead and show it here, is I've accidentally written a bad S3 bucket policy that basically denies access to everybody. And the only way to really unlock that is using the root credentials. However, now we've got a self-service centralized alternative for you. And let me go ahead and show you how that works.
Yeah,
so here I'm going to select my demo member account for S3. And I'm going to choose to take a privileged action here. And I need to delete the S3 bucket policy. So I'm going to go ahead. What I can do with this feature is go ahead and browse the S3 buckets available in that account. And much to my chagrin, I've lost complete access to my QPET photos. So that is the one that I need to go ahead and unlock over here.
Who among us has not accidentally blocked or, you know, put ourselves into a corner over bucket access policies? I mean, I haven't today.
Exactly. So you can see here, silly old me accidentally fat fingered the bucket policy on this account and basically wrote myself a VPC source IP that I do not control. Actually, nobody controls this one, and I just need to go ahead and blow that away. So I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm, and that should unlock that bucket policy. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over into that account so I can go and check and make sure that my really cute photos are still there. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that account real quick.
Okay.
Come over here to S3. And we'll see my buckets over here, my cute pet photos. I have access to them, which is very good. And then I'm going to go ahead and check and see if I can open it. Perfect. My dog's still here.
Well, that is a good and refreshing thing. I'm glad that the dog, that Merlin is still here with us, right? We're about at time. Is there anything else that you'd like to drop as a nugget for folks that are interested in going and learning more about this, where they can go learn a little bit more about the level of robustness that you've incorporated? Anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, we launched this feature this morning. So our documentation, we've written AWS news blog on this. But really, this is live in the console right now. So feel free to go ahead, click on it, and poke around and give us your thoughts on what you think, because we're always taking customer feedback and improving our services based upon what our customers tell us.
That's awesome, Ray. Hey, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for the demo. It seems like a super useful feature, and yeah, we'll have to have you on again when we release the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you. See you in a couple weeks. And I can think immediately of all the implications and ease of access management and ease of almost a full up removal of burden of operation for partners having to not go through and do those manual sweeps. Very much the infomercials era of set it and forget it. This is gonna be a welcome change. I'm pretty positive of that. What do you think?
You don't want to let those cute pet photos stuck out in the rain. You've got to be able to take privilege access against that. And yeah, I think this doesn't get any simpler than that, right? Like I love it. You can just go log into the management account. You have access to manage who gets root access. And that's something we hear from a lot of customers, like root privilege access. That can be a scary thing. And making sure that you have the right policies and permissions around that, I think, is super useful. Making that easier for people to do is also super useful. You know what else is super useful, Adrian? Our survey is incredibly useful for us here at the show, and in particular, our producer, Nick, who loves reading survey results all weekend long. And that's my goal, is to make sure that he has plenty to read. And this one's a little bit different than our surveys before. Is that right, Adrian? Let the folks know what they're going to get this time.
What you're going to get, if you respond to that survey, you will receive a code that, if you get out to reInvent, you provide that code to us, walk up to the booth and give us a code, and walk away with a bit of swag. I believe it's a hat. There may be other stuff there. You're just going to have to come and check it out. And I would encourage you to, for sure, engage with the survey. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of, less of. If you want to see hosts with alliteration in their name, we can probably figure that out. And if there's a specific technical domain or area of expertise you'd like for us to cover on this or any of the other shows, we'd love to hear about it. And in all seriousness, we do read through them. We do torture Nick and make him burn the midnight oil, much like they used to in the 1990s, when we had nothing else to do other than listen to dial-up internet and help him pass the time. So let's be thoughtful. If you're cold, he's cold. Bring him in from outside in the rain and the changing of the weather. And let's give Nick something to do. Let's put him through the paces. And at the end of the day, there might even be something we'd be able to torture him with. But we'll leave that teaser there for now.
reInvent can be pretty swagtastic. There's quite a bit of swag going around reInvent, but I can assure you this is going to be one of the cooler swags at reInvent. So you're definitely going to want a hat, fill out the survey, get the code, come whisper it into the booth, and get a chance to win a hat. Adrian, what do we got next here on the show? I think I have a feeling of what's coming next, having some experience in this department.
Little bit, yeah. We've got a session that is going to be delivered by one of our good friends and co-hosts, Jeff Maruchak, as well as our sponsor, NVIDIA. They're going to be talking to us about some of the stuff that they've been cooking up lately, and if generative AI or just in general tinkering with technology partners is something that you'd be interested in. Stay tuned. It'll be going here in a minute, and we'd love to hear from you directly about what your thoughts were on it. And I think we're ready to go for it if you are.
Roll the tape.
Thank you, Todd and Adrian. We'll give you a little bit of a break while we talk to our friends at NVIDIA and Ryder. Everyone, my name is Jeff Mershak. I'm a senior solutions architect on the AWS DoD Air Force team, and I'm joined by my friend Sam from Ryder and Jen from NVIDIA. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, yeah. So, hi, everybody. I'm Sam Julien. I'm the Director of Developer Relations for Ryder. We're a full-stack enterprise generative AI platform. Been around since about 2020 and focus on big enterprises and helping them scale generative AI.
Cool. Jen?
Yeah, thanks for having us. Jen Hoskins. I'm the head of cloud partnerships globally for Inception. Inception is NVIDIA's free startup program open to startups across stages, ages, verticals, and across the globe.
Great. So it sounds like Ryder, you guys have had you have some really good products. And I think we're going to see a little bit about that in a little bit here. But tell us about what Ryder offers. And it sounds generative AI, a lot of topics there, but fill us in on exactly what Ryder offers.
Yeah, so we could call ourselves a full stack AI platform. And what this means is that we really provide the whole kit and caboodle of building AI applications for enterprises. So that means we build our own LLMs. We have our own approach to graph-based RAG that we provide our customers. We have AI guardrails, and then we have actually an entire suite of development tools called AI Studio that enables business users and developers to build on the platform as well.
Gotcha. So based on what you're seeing with generative AI and just AI ML in general in the enterprise, what kind of things is Ryder kind of addressing? How is it helping your customers?
The thing that we're seeing a lot of in the enterprise space is what we call proof of concept purgatory, where a lot of enterprises, they're starting out building new development projects, and then they just sort of get lost in all of the details around scaling and putting things into production and really getting the ROI needed. They sink a lot of money into building AI infrastructure and resourcing, and then it's really hard to get things to production. And so that's the sweet spot that Ryder has, where we come in, we have this entire, not just a toolkit, but like a comprehensive platform that we enable these enterprises to actually build and deploy apps in days instead of weeks and months to really get that high impact ROI immediately.
Yeah, it's funny. When I talk to customers about AI ML, I usually preface it with, "Look, I'm not a data scientist. You know, I minored in economics in college, but that's it. But let me show you how we can train some models and what some hyperparameters are." So, hey, can you give us some examples of some of your customers and what they're using Ryder for?
Yeah, for sure. A few that jump to mind. One is Commvault. They use Ryder to accelerate their workflows and enable their go-to-market teams for self-serve enablement. And they used a custom-built AI chat app, basically, and that was deployed in a matter of weeks. Another one that I really like is Intuit. They doubled their employee productivity across 6 functions using Ryder. They found an 18x ROI through their AI applications built with us. Across their developer docs, customer stories, and lots of other long form and short form assets. And then lastly, Adore Me, the retailer, they did a big launch in a new international market and using some apps that they built with our AI Studio platform. And we're able to increase their non-branded search for their product description pages by 40%. So that's just a few out of our many enterprise customers.
Yeah, that's cool. So fill us in, and Jen, you can jump in here as well. But what NVIDIA and AWS products is Ryder currently using?
Yeah, so we're using SageMaker HyperPod with NVIDIA H100s to do all of our model training, basically. And some of that is using Tensor RTE to help our inference time. But yeah, that's the main thing, SageMaker HyperPod.
Yeah, and I think that would translate to the EC2 P5 instances for the
Right.
100. So yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's see this in action. I kind of want to see what Ryder is doing. And Jen, you can jump in anytime here to add color as well. But,
I'll for the shameless plug of Inception.
Yeah, go
after
for
the
it.
demo.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, we love that program. Yeah, so I know this is a no slide zone, but I just wanted to show this quick. This is a diagram, not a slide. I just wanted to show a quick diagram because there's a lot of surface area to Writer. And so basically we have like our underlying structure of our LLMs and our graph-based RAG and our AI guardrails. And then on top of that, we have this sort of platform as a service so our customers don't have to worry about things like inference and infrastructure and all that. And then we kind of have two parts of the platform. We have a pre-built application side and then the AI Studio platform. And so I'll walk through these as we go. So when you first log into Writer, you see kind of this side of the product, which is like the pre-built application side. So we have all of these pre-built applications and an entire repository of applications here where you can do things like generate blog copy or upload a recording and get a recap using our Palmyra models, that kind of thing. We also build custom applications for customers on this side of the product. And so lots of useful things here where you can generate copy. We have great features around developing a voice for your writing and your copy and that kind of thing, optimizing for SEO, that kind of thing. And that's all built in to this side of the product. And then where I really spend a lot of my time in DevRel and developer experiences over in AI Studio. So it's the other part of the product where we have no-code tools as well as developer tools. So for example, if I go to build an application, you see that we've got like no-code applications that business users can build, like text generation, chat apps, that kind of thing. We'll be coming out with a research assistant application pretty soon. And then on the developer side, we have something called Writer Framework, which is our Python open source framework that really tightly integrates with our models and our RAG, our graph-based RAG called Knowledge Graph. And then we have our API and SDKs. So I'll just walk through a couple of little demos here. Before I do, any questions so far on any of that?
Now, I would ask our audience, we know we have James on the chat channel right now. Chime in to see, give us some ideas of, now that you've seen these two sides of Writer, kind of what thoughts that you would use or what kind of applications you would build with Writer. Feel free to throw them in the chat. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. We have Danny from Writer also in the chat as well, so feel free to share. So I wanted to share a couple of demos using our Palmyra Fin or Palmyra Finance model because it's on NVIDIA NIMs along with Palmyra Medical. It's a very cool domain-specific model that we've trained for finance, for financial services. So this is a no-code application that we built where we've got portfolio rebalancing recommendations. And what's cool about the no-code side is you can do this like easy design of building an interface and then chaining together prompts. And you can see you can actually like pick the model. You can refer to variables like the past quarter results or what's coming into the data, as well as down below, you can specify the different output formatting. So it's like really easy for business users to use. So let me just go over here and select PDF here from the portfolio rebalance. And so this data that I'm uploading is basically just some anonymized client portfolio data of stock holdings for a mutual fund. And basically I've uploaded that into the application and I can hit generate text and it's going to go through and analyze like the positive impacts of the holdings, the negative impacts of the holdings, chain all of those together, feed that back into Palmyra Fin, and it's going to analyze that and make portfolio rebalancing recommendations. So let's see it in action. Great. So it's generating the positive stock selection, sector weighting, concatenation, all of these great things. And then down towards the end, it actually will in Markdown write the recommendations for rebalancing the portfolio for the customer. So this would be a great thing for financial advisors to use or other financial service industry employees, things like that. And very easy to build. The longest part is probably writing the prompts, but everything else is pretty straightforward, very easy to build. You can even deploy these applications and then access them using an API endpoint that we have. So it's super flexible, super easy to use platform.
I have a question for you. You'd mentioned that you guys develop your own models, and for a split second there, you said you can kind of choose the model for each of the widgets or whatnot. Can you go over a little bit, kind of the choice, like because part of building an AI application is evaluating which model to use. Obviously, writers giving the customer the choice. Can you go through some of your models, maybe, or talk through that a bit?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's pertinent for this demo too, because actually towards the end where we actually do the final recommendations, we use our latest frontier model, Palmyra X004, to actually do the recommendations because it's our latest and greatest model. You can do things like function calling and that kind of thing with it. So yeah, we have a wide range of models. They kind of break down though into like our frontier models, sort of our latest and greatest models, and then our domain specific models. So for example, right now, I just mentioned Palmyra X004. That's like our latest and greatest model that you would use for kind of all of your general purpose applications. And then we have Palmyra Med for healthcare and Palmyra Financial for financial services. Some of these other models that you're seeing in this list are some of our older models that we have for legacy applications and that kind of thing. And we have more domain specific models coming. And then the other one that I'd like to call out is Palmyra Vision. This is our vision model, which means it can do things like interpret an image and give back a description of it. So this gets used a lot by customers for things like generating product descriptions or analyzing an ad for compliance for regulations or things like that. So yeah, wide range of models that we all build from scratch in-house. They're not fine tunings of other external models.
Yeah, and what's interesting, you point out those domain-specific models. Most of the time, generally, you would start with like a general model and do your own specific training. Sounds like Writer's done that, a little bit of that first step for the customer, and let's already pre-train it on some medical stuff, on some financial stuff, and use the right model for the right job.
Exactly. Yeah. And even our general purpose models, they're really actually trained specifically for business and for enterprise. So, kind of the data that goes into it and everything is all for the sake of the enterprise use case. So we do a lot of that work for you where we, whether you're using a more general purpose one or a domain specific one, we take the brunt of all of that work of actually getting the model ready to use in an enterprise context. And then you can combine that with the graph-based retrieval and everything to bring in all of your data and everything that makes your business unique.
Yeah, we're kind of running low on time. I think we could talk for a half hour on graph-based RAG. I would love to get into that. But anything else you want to show in this demo before we talk about Inception really quick?
Yeah, I do. I just want to really quickly show the Writer framework. That's our Python framework for drag and drop, building a drag and drop UI, but then actually having the full Python code in the back. So this is a favorite of our developers who can just build apps really quickly in a Python environment. And so I've got this finance research dashboard here. It's pulling in stock data, and then it's feeding that information into the financial model that I mentioned. So I can just click visualize income statement, and it's going to go out and send all of that stock income data to Palmyra Fin. It's going to create charts and graphs using Python, and then actually produce an analysis from Palmyra Fin. So pretty amazing platform. Like you can basically build SaaS applications with this framework, and all that you have to do is basically drag and drop these UI components around and then edit Python code just like you would in any other Python framework. So really remarkable platform, and it's open source. And so people can go play around with it.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, some of our viewers seem to be interested in this. Where would you direct folks who want to learn more about Writer?
So a couple different places you can go. Our developer docs are a really great place to go to learn as much as possible about the platform. We've got a whole section on Writer Framework, a whole section on our API and SDKs, and then the no code section. So definitely there. We also have writer.com/engineering, which is our engineering blog. That's a great resource for everybody to go to. Last resource I just want to call out, since we're on an AWS show, is we actually have some notebooks for folks who want to try to deploy the LLMs from Writer on AWS SageMaker. So we can make sure there's a link to that in the chat as well.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Sam. Jen, let's talk about Inception and how Ryder is involved with NVIDIA Inception.
Yes, we partner in amazing ways, AWS and NVIDIA. Inception is one of those. Our startup program, like I mentioned, we have tools, resources, discounts, credits, including credits for AWS, cloud credits. In our program, we want all of our startups to join Ryder. We absolutely love Ryder, and we highlight Ryder as many times as we possibly can, including at reInvent. So we have a large Inception team attending reInvent. Ryder will be on my panel, and I hope everyone can join on Monday at reInvent, where I will be highlighting 6 of our amazing startups, including Ryder. But please tell me really quickly, how has Inception, NVIDIA, AWS, how has this partnership helped you? Just one quick way.
We love Inception. It provides us lots of tools and resources to help us be successful and keep building Ryder. And folks can definitely talk with Danny and James in the chat to get more information.
Amazing. I want to see everyone at my panel as well on Monday. We'll stick the link in the chat. Make sure you're there.
Well, you got a Monday slot, which means people are more attentive on Monday. And as the week goes on, and especially after replay, things get kind of iffy. So doing great with the Monday slot. And Jen, I invite you to the On-Air booth on the expo floor where we'll be hosting live. So come by and say
I will be there.
Same for all of our viewers out there. Please come and say hi on the expo floor at reInvent in Las Vegas. So Sam, Jen, thank you very much. And we're going to head back over to Todd and Adrian.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks, Mr. Jeff. What an awesome demo. Really cool stuff from the Ryder team, a new startup using NVIDIA. Yeah, I stick around, though. We've got another Jeff coming on a little bit later. Is that right, Adrian? But before we bring on that Jeff, I think we've got another segment for our audience.
We do. And just like a breath of fresh air, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to be bringing up another guest in the identity and access management space that is going to talk to us about a new launch that's going to figure out a really cool way to centrally manage policies and restrict external access to your AWS resources. And keyword, at scale. Everything sounds great up until you're realizing you're trying to scale people versus process or service or solution. And I've been a large proponent of silicon over carbon for quite some time because I am a good lazy admin at the end of the day. And without any further ado, let's bring them on. Let's bring her on. Yeah.
Tatiana and Rishi, welcome to the show. I'm sensing a theme in today's show. I hear in this term centrally managed a lot. And so here we're going to talk some more about some centrally managed features that are being released at AWS. Tatiana, introduce yourself for our audience. What do you do here?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Tatiana Itskevich. I'm a principal solutions architect in the identity organization based out of New York. It's a very beautiful sunny day today here. My day-to-day activities are twofold. On one hand, I work with customers, helping them solve various identity problems. And the other side of it is working with our product team and engineering on helping build and release new capabilities that maybe address those problems in a more scalable manner, right? So kind of serving a bridge between customers and the product here.
Cool. And Rishi, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself as well, and then we'll get into the content and the demo that you guys have planned for us today.
Sure. Super excited to be here. This is my first on air. Looking forward for the discussion. My name is Rishi Mehrotra. I am a product manager in AWS Identity and Access Management Service. As a PM, I like talking to customers, understand what is working great for them, and more importantly, what are some challenges they are encountering, and work backwards from them. Then we go and talk to and work with our awesome engineering teams, come up with some features that solve those problems in a more straightforward manner. Looking forward for this discussion.
Yeah, you and me both, Rishi and Tatiana. Something that I constantly am hearing about from partners and customers, especially now in the emergent startup spaces where folks are having to rush to get something out, and sometimes you forget to button down the hatches a little bit, and in comes a nice a firm, blustery breeze or derecho that blows up your front door. It just opens everything up, and you realize, oh, I've got a problem now, but I can't stop operations entirely because I still need to allow some access into it. And again, one of those things, I said it before, I'll say it again, very selfishly interested in what we're going to be talking about today. And I know we got a lot of ground to cover. And I think as we're going to go through it, do you think starting off with the demo and just kind of walking around and taking questions from the chat, do you think that would be a good way to start exploring this? Or is there
Sure.
something that you'd like to get to first?
Rishi, do you want to kind of
Yeah.
talk a little bit about RCPs first?
Yeah,
and then
let me quickly introduce RCPs that we recently launched, and then we'll jump onto the demo. So, resource control policies, in short, RCPs, they are an organization type of policy which you can go and enable and use, create them in AWS organizations. So, these help you centrally define and establish preventative controls on your AWS resources across multiple accounts in your organization. So the focus is centrally define preventative controls, right? RCPs complement an already existing type of policy which is out there, service control policies, and like service control policies apply to your principals, IAM roles, and users. Resource control policies will help you establish a preventative control in a central fashion around your AWS resources across your AWS accounts. One thing worth calling out is both these type of policies, they do not grant any access. They serve as a permission guardrail, helping you define maximum available permissions on your principals and resources.
Interesting.
And at launch, RCPs are going to apply to a select set of services, which we will see in detail in demo.
It's interesting the way that you put it, as to say that it's not permissive, it's exclusively meant to restrict interaction. Did I catch that right?
So yeah, the idea of these organization level policy is not to assign access to any particular resource or entity. The idea is to establish the maximum available permissions that these resources or identities have, and they do not get anything additional which is not meeting the like the governance guideline of your organization.
Okay. Okay. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I
starting
think
to
this.
get it.
I think this is where a demo is going to help it click for me in my
Yeah.
brain. So why don't we bring on your screen and we'll walk through what a RCP is, maybe. And I think so. I'm familiar with service control policies, but RCPs are still relatively new to me. So yeah, let's get started. So again, I just want to make sure we're situationally aware. We are in the AWS console. We are. Which service are we in now? We're on AWS Organizations, a service. Okay, now where do we go?
Yeah, so as Rishi mentioned, right, RCPs are managed within AWS organizations. I have a very simplistic organization here, which just has a minimal set of accounts and OUs. You know, in a real large enterprise, you would see hundreds or even thousands of accounts. And in order to enforce access controls across all of these accounts, central teams would use organizations policies, right? We have multiple types of policies here. We uh, mentioned service control policies. Our customers are very familiar with them, right? They allow them to restrict access for identities in their organization. But today, we want to look at resource control policies. If this is the first time you using RCPs, first thing you need to do is to enable them in your organization, right? You can do it in the console as we did right now, but you can also call AWS SDK and AWS CLI so that you can manage them programmatically as well. So when you do that, though, make sure that you are using the organization's management account or delegated administrator account, because those are the only powerful accounts within your organization that can enable or disable a policy type. So you see here that once I enabled RCPs, right, this RCP full AWS access policy was automatically created and attached to every entity within my organization. Here you see all of my accounts and organizational units. That means that this RCP is attached to every single one of them, including the root of my organization. And
Whoa.
content And in the content, I see that this policy allows all access to all principles and actions and resources within my organization.
Tatiana, that's like a loud thunderclap of a shock. Allowing the wild card. Isn't that something we guide against in using IAM policies?
Yeah, it might look scary at the beginning, but it's actually okay since RCPs don't grant any permissions, right? They set the maximum permissions that are available in individual accounts when it comes to accessing your resources. They kind of allow you to put this perimeter, right? A filter on top through which it will be determined whether access should be allowed or not.
Okay. Okay.
So we're talking like I'm keyed in on this term centrally managed. You're at this management account. You're managing multiple accounts, and I kind of want to hear from our audience. I haven't heard from them in a little bit here. I want to know. I almost want to throw a poll, a little competition. Who in the audience has the most number of accounts under management? Like, are we talking thousands, hundreds, one? Might this be useful to you to centrally manage? Okay, Tatiana, back to you. We are defining maximum permissions that are available within an account. So you're saying here the max is star.
At this point, yes, right? So before you enabled RCPs, you didn't have any resource specific restrictions applied in your organization, right? And when you enabled it, you still don't have any resource specific restrictions because this policy allows all access. And this is to ensure that the pure fact of you enabling this policy type, right, is not going to change how the IAM permissions are currently behaving in your organization, right? That is until you actually start creating your own RCPs and enforcing them in your organization.
Okay. I think
yeah.
So from here, where do we go? So I've got this perimeter, established this max permission perimeter. Yeah, help me.
Yeah.
Where are we going from here?
I think we're both thinking about it in the same way. Like, we've defined the absolute top. So how do I go about enforcing access controls on the resources and what those controls would look like? I think that's where you're going, and probably going to end up in the same place.
Yeah, and I think I want to kind of make it a little bit more realistic, right? And look at the RCPs through the lens of a hypothetical scenario. We talked about how enterprises today, operate in a large environment with multiple accounts. In many cases, they are decentralizing their operations, right? Giving their developers more freedom to manage permissions. That comes with the benefit of business agility, but also with some additional considerations that security teams need to take into account, right? And I want to look at one of them. Let's say I have an application in one of my accounts that needs to pull data for some processing from an S3 bucket, which is in this data lake account. So I will use a different browser to log into that data lake account. Here I'm in the Amazon S3 console now, right? S3 is a storage service that allows you to store large amounts of data in something that we call buckets, right? And in order for anyone, any application to be able to upload or download data from those buckets, a developer will have to grant permissions, right? Nothing is allowed unless it's explicitly granted in AWS. So a developer, would click on this bucket, would go to permissions, and they'll try to add the bucket policy to grant permissions for their applications, right? And let's say they have some pre-built policy that they will just going to paste in here. And this policy, allows access to all S3 actions against this bucket. And in the principal element, right, this is actually what defines who's being granted access. A developer maybe mistypes an account ID and accidentally grants access to an external account, right? Something that can happen, hopefully accidentally, not intentionally, right? So now we have this bucket policy that allows external access, right? And I will play a role now of an external actor. I will use this AWS CLI to try to poke around and see what I can do with that access, right? And the first thing I would try is to enumerate all the objects in the bucket, right, to see if there's anything of interest to me.
Mhm.
And fair enough, I see a object with the name sensitive file, right? And this is
Yeah.
what I'm gonna after right now.
Yeah.
And I will try to download this object, right?
Okay.
I'll call the get object API, right? This is what you call to download objects from bucket. Specify the bucket name, and in the key parameter, I will list the file that I'm trying to download. And you see that I was actually able to successfully download that object, right? So this is a scary thing, right? For many central security teams, right? And this is something that they definitely want to prevent in their organization. And maybe now it's a good opportunity to actually show how you can do that with the RCPs, right? Now, I will play a role of a central governance team. I'm responsible for creating controls to meet various compliance and security requirements. And one of those could be helping prevent external access. So I'm back in the AWS Organizations Management account. I will go to policies, right? Navigate back to resource control policies, and I will create my first RCP, right? I will give it a name, right, and the same description. And you will see that the policy authoring experience is very similar to SCPs, right? You can select which services you want to protect with that RCP. Rishi mentioned that we support 5 services today. And today, for this particular scenario, we are interested in S3, so I will select S3 over here. And in the resources, I will select all resources. This is because I want to make sure that all of my buckets, right, and all of my accounts are actually protected by this control. And the most important part now is the condition. This is the core of the control. This is what defines under what condition an access should be denied or allowed, right? And the condition key that we are looking for here for preventing external access is principal org ID. I will fill in the parameters here very quickly. Just bear with me.
Sure.
So we built this policy, right, that now denies access to all S3 actions against all S3 resources if the principal that is making the call does not belong to our organization. So essentially in this condition block, right, we are looking at the value of this principal org ID key in the request context, which will be the calling principal org ID, with what we defined in the policy, which is our organization ID, right? And if those values don't match, right, string not equals, then the request will be denied.
So if for some reason some other organization is trying to get access to this because they're not part of our organization, which is theoretically possible in a complex AWS hierarchy, we get multiple organizations. We want to make sure we're constricting or restricting access within an organization. Okay. This is starting to. I'm starting to click here. I can. Things are coming together. So we've created this policy. I understand what we're restricting. I understand to whom we're restricting it from. How do we apply it to the?
Yeah, for sure. One thing I want to mention is that the policy editor actually helps you go through the process of building an RCP, with the correct syntax and some best practices. So here you see that the policy validator actually generated a warning for me, right? And I can look at it and see that there is a recommendation to add additional condition key to this policy. And this is to prevent unintended impact on services that might be accessing my resources, right? So I'll go ahead and do that. And you will see that now the warning went away, and I can actually create that policy. Right?
That's a nice little check ride there, just in case you don't go and drop a lead brick on your toe and just end up stumbling out into
Yeah.
just middle of nowhere, not being able to get to anything. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool that it's not only reporting on syntax errors, right, but also like guiding you through best practices on how to write a better RCP for sure.
Yeah. So Tatiana,
Yeah.
we've got just about a minute left. I want to make sure we land this plane here. So we've created this policy, and what's our next
Ye-
step?
Yeah, so next step is to make sure that it actually enforces the control that we are trying to enforce. You need to attach that policy to an entity, right, that you want to protect. So I'm going to attach it to the organizational unit that has this data lake account in my organization, right? I attached it now. So now to see the impact of that, I'll go back to the my external actor CLI here, right? And I will try to list objects again. And now you see that access is actually denied, right? I can try to download an object and I'm getting the access denied as well. So this is how RCP that we just wrote prevented external access, even though the bucket policy still allows that external access. So that's the power, right, that we now bring into the central security teams to manage and prevent unintended access to resources at scale.
Yeah,
That
thanks,
is
Tanya. This is such a great demo, and people in the audience are agreeing. Great presentation. At first, I was a little confused, and then as you started presenting it, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is starting to make sense on how we could use this at scale for our organizations and multi-organization." I understand we've got some links if folks want to learn more. Where else can they go? And then we'll finish up the segment here.
Yeah, we launched this capability on Thursday, right? And that came out with the launch blog, a great launch blog. Please go ahead and read it. Also, in AWS organizations documents, we have a dedicated section for RCPs. It gives you a lot of great details. And start experimenting and let us know what you think.
Yep, I always recommend go read the docs. Great. And go read the blog to contextualize those docs. So, hey, Tatiana, thanks for coming on. Rishi, thanks for coming on. Great demo. Good stuff.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Wow, blown away. That's pretty slick. I'm already thinking of some things that I want to go run through, but instead of sitting and enumerating him here, let's bring Jeff on and let's figure out what he's been up to, what has caught his attention. What do you think?
Like a gale force wind. Let's keep on moving. Here we go,
Let's
Jeff.
do it.
Ooh, Adrian, Todd, quite the show today.
Quite the
Yeah,
show indeed.
I promised another Jeff would be joining us, and
Yeah.
fortunately for us, it is Mr. Jeff Barr. Mr. Jeff Barr,
Yeah,
welcome
you
to
guys
the
are like
show.
super resourceful today.
I see, dude. This subtitle, this wings thing, is making me all too. I'm so hungry. You might have been able to hear my stomach rattle during this show, and now we're gonna be talking. You're gonna make me think about wings this whole segment.
Absolutely.
think about
I'm
wings all
looking
the
forward to Wings with Nick at reInvent.
That's all right.
All
Wings,
right.
So you got some new stuff for us today, Jeff? What do you got?
Totally do. All right. Always happy to be here. I'm Jeff Barr. I'm a 22-year veteran of Amazon and AWS. And every week I go through our most recent launches and pick just a couple that catch my eye. I'm sitting here writing content for reInvent 14 hours a day, but still have time for some news. The first cool thing, this is for CloudTrail, and it's for CloudTrail Lake. So it's called a custom selector. And so that's a bit of background. So turns out CloudTrail has been around for quite a while. CloudTrail is 11 years old. And what CloudTrail does is it records all the calls that are made to the AWS APIs through the console, through the CLI, through your own apps, and for third-party software. And then it drops those into log files, which then gets dropped into an S3 bucket. So our customers use that for compliance and troubleshooting, security analytics, and so forth. So that's the raw data. So what customers do is they use CloudTrail Lake, which is from 2022. And so it was launched. It is a managed special purpose data lake for all these events that come from CloudTrail. So you get all in one nice package. You get collection and storage and preparation and optimization. So we've got those two things. They already work really, really well together. But when you start recording all that API activity, it can produce an absolute mountain of data, and you might not actually want to keep it all in your lake. Your costs won't quite get stratospheric, so to speak, but you know what I mean. The costs are going to kind of get high if you keep more data than you actually need. So you already have the ability to exclude some KMS events and some RDS events, both of which are interesting and useful, but those are both somewhat noisy services. So a lot of customers actually tend to exclude those. So what is actually new, finally, you can create a thing called a selector that lets you either log or exclude certain management or network activity events based on the value of some fields in the event. So you can look at things like the event name, the user identity, the session credentials, for network events, the VPC endpoint ID, the event source, the event type. And so you actually have a little visual builder. Let me see if I can bring this up on screen real quick. Where's the visual builder here? There we go. There's just a cool little visual builder. There I am on the side. Okay, there's a little visual builder. And you can use this to basically, you pick out fields from the events and you build these events, event selectors, or if you want, you can either write the JSON directly, or maybe you have some kind of a tool that generates the JSON for you. But either way, you get this idea that you can decide, kind of have a little, like an input filter onto your data, your CloudTrail lake, to decide exactly what you want to go in there. Let's put that guy away. Oh, and so you get that at no extra charge. We'll drop a link to that in our chat as always. The next is a little bit different. We launched a really cool program called Build on Trainium. So we're investing $110 million to support AI research. This is all for universities using our Trainium chips. And what we're hoping to do here is to really help to support and grow the next generation of up-and-coming AI experts. We're donating compute hours, and we want to encourage things like new AI architectures, machine learning libraries, performance optimizations for the Trainium Ultra clusters. So let's talk about the Trainium Ultra clusters for just a second. The idea is you can scale up to thousands of Trainium-equipped EC2 instances, all in a single AZ. They're connected by an incredibly awesome network. It's petabit scale, and it's non-blocking. And you get to use Amazon FSx for Lustre, so you've got massive high-performance shared storage. And these Ultra clusters, you can get them to as big as 30,000 Trainium accelerators per Ultra cluster.
Wow.
It's kind of hard to compute how much that is, but I'm sure that it is tens of exaflops of compute power. So remember, a flops is a floating point operation per second. So tens of exaflops of compute power. We'll drop a link to that. So we're gonna basically make $110 million worth of Trainium compute power available to universities. And I've got a few really short takes. You can have up to 1 million S3 buckets per account. The default quota is 10,000, but you can ask for more. I think there's a little charge for anything past 10,000. We reduced prices on DynamoDB on-demand throughput and global tables by 50% and 67%. And we have 3 new long-form poly voices. We've got Patrick, who speaks English, Alva and Raul are female and male Spanish, respectively. I checked and I begged, but no word yet on a Nick voice, but we'll keep working on that one.
Yeah,
that is all I have got for today. I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I went a little faster than always, but to keep up, read the news blog, subscribe to our feed, follow me on LinkedIn, and I hope to see everybody in our audience at reInvent as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, as always, Jeff. Always a pleasure having you on the show. You are warm sunshine on a cloudy day, I must admit.
I'm actually here on Vashon Islands, just a little bit west of Seattle, and it's so sunny in here that you might have noticed I'm looking a little bit washed out because there's so much light coming in from the west that I've had to turn the brightness all the way down on my camera, so I'm not just a white wall.
Well, irrespective of that, always a joy and always a delight to have you on. And it's kind of the worst part of the show now, where we get to bring on Nick and have him tell us about what's going on, what he's working on, and more importantly, talk about the survey one last time and how important it is to us.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on wings here. I can't even comprehend exaflops worth of computational power. So I'm just daydreaming about wings right now.
Yeah, that's
Nick guy is the
worst.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even bring him on, I don't think. I don't know. It's just not fun.
Yeah, let's torture him while we're at it. And in all seriousness, in that survey, by all means, you do get to pick a torture that we're going to have to subject Nick to, and strongly encourage you to do it for no other reason. Tell us what you want us to have Nick do.
Yeah, I'm kind of the worst, guys. So, write in suggestions, do whatever you want. Jeff and I, most excitingly, have already agreed to a wing eating competition, which has been plugged a few times. So we're going to have a classic hot wings style interview where we keep getting hotter and hotter as the wings go.
Do we have a location and a date for that yet?
That, I believe, is maybe my producers backstage can fact check me here. It should be Tuesday afternoon to close out the show.
Okay.
So
not
day of
breakfast wings?
reinvent, closing out the show at the on-air booth.
Nick,
You
you
don't
got to
think we
get
should do breakfast wings.
What was that?
Breakfast wings.
Yeah.
You have to have a wing eating dance. This is something back in the day. I had a really close friend, and wings would get us he would get so excited to eat wings at the end of we were working at a restaurant. He would start dancing, and he'd do this like little wing dance. So Nick, I'm hoping to see a wing dance.
Considering the sauces that I'm told we're getting for this, especially on the latter questions, we're going to be involuntarily dancing.
Are we going progressive on the hot?
Yep, we're starting just standard buffalo and going up from there and seeing how many we can take. So let us know your bets on how many we can take. So should be fun. But you can vote on other things we need to do. And guys, first 50 respondents today, instead of getting $10 in credits, we thought it'd be fun to do something else. We're actually giving away hats at reInvent to our diehard fans while supplies last. But if you take the survey, you get a code. And if you find the on-air booth at reInvent, come over to see Debbie, myself, or Tina, our other producer, and say the code, and you get this cool hat here. So exclusive to reInvent this year. Again, while supplies last, take the survey, get the code, come find us, and you get this reInvent 2024 on-air hat. So that should be pretty cool, I think, so pretty stylish, I
would say.
So come check that out. I know Todd, obviously. And we're confirmed. Wing eating is Tuesday at 4:30 p.m., Jeff. So.
Okay, I better make sure that's on my calendar.
Yeah, I need to block that off because if I don't get to participate, I'm absolutely going to watch and heckle and dangle on a nice little paracord off the top of the area, a glass of milk, and the first person to break to reach for it is going to be declared.
Yeah, I think that should be the bet here, Jeff. How long can we go before we go for the milk? I think that's the question people want to know.
I have to be really desperate before I'll drink milk.
Oh,
yeah.
That should be interesting then. Todd and Adrian, you know what? You guys can come join us for maybe the last one then. You can join our misery. See if we're
I'm hungry, man. If my kids are going to be watching, hey, Pumpkin, I want to be thoroughly embarrassed as well. At the very least, taste the sauce to see what it tastes like, and then of course, scarf down some wings. I'll deal with the heartache and the heartburn later.
I'm so hungry now. We're talking about wings, and then I just saw pineapple pizza. It's like getting progressively worse.
Yeah, I'm struggle bussing, but I also loved Jeff's not so subtle dig at like, man, you know how nice it is where I'm at compared to how cold it is for you guys. Yeah. It's so sunny here. I actually had to turn down the camera filters.
Humble brag.
But yeah, guys, make sure you take the survey, register for reInvent, come see us, find us at the booth. If you're wondering where we are, if you see a big crowd of people crying tears of joy and weeping openly, it's probably our booth. So come check us out, see us there, say hi to everybody. And also, we've got really cool episodes coming up, guys. Next week, we're having our Road to reInvent special. It's going to be 2 hours instead of the usual one. So Friday from 12 to 2 Pacific time, next Friday, so the 22nd. We're going to be having some cool sneak peek stuff, interviewing some fun guests coming on the show, talking about what you can expect at reInvent next year. That's going to be a really cool episode. And our other episodes, or other shows, Under the Hood, Startup, all the other, Game Day, all the other shows are going to be wrapping up their seasons as well. Shameless plug sports. We're going to be talking to the NFL. Instead of on Wednesday, we're going to be talking on Tuesday. I need to make sure the date's right here. Tuesday, the 23rd, 24th, 26th. So check us out Tuesday, the 26th, 11 a.m. for the finale of sports. We got a lot of fun finales and other cool things coming up in the next week here.
Cool.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you so
that
much
is
as
my
usual,
word
man.
limit for the day. I need to go back into my cell and work on the production stuff. So I will let you guys take the show out. But yeah, register for reInvent, take the survey, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Nick. Always appreciate it.
Road to reInvent. I like the sound of that. I think we need to get like an AWS OnAir bus and next year literally do a road to reInvent. We'll live stream all the way from wherever we are to Vegas. We'll just
No, I
pick,
actually
we can just
thought
pick
about-
up our hosts all along the way, and that'll be our road to reInvent.
That's a heck of a road trip. I actually thought about driving out there this year, but yeah, I'm gonna fly instead. I'd much rather get there in like 3 hours instead of like 18. So
Best way
it
to
is
do
what
it.
it is.
Well, I think that's it for us this week. Everybody, thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. Jeff, thanks for coming on and bringing us the new updates, exaflops of good content that you bring daily. We will see everybody next week for the Road to reInvent special.
See you guys
Thank
next
you,
week.
everyone.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.